Hello everybody, and welcome back to Writing the Rapids, the show where I, Joe Bielecki, talk to writers about writing. Very often, those writers have been recommended to me by people who have previously been on the show. In the case of this month's guest, Danielle Chelosky, she was recommended to me by Max Restaino and Derek Fisher. Danielle Chelosky is a writer, journalist, and critic from New York. She is a staff writer at Stereo Gum and has bylines in NPR, The Fader, and Billboard. She's an editor at Hobart, an editorial assistant at Amphetamine Sulfate, and the host of the Weird Fox literary reading series. She graduated from Sarah Lawrence College in 2022 and was awarded the Laurie Hertzberg Prize for Creativity. She is the author of Female Loneliness Epidemic, Pre-Gaming Grief, and Baby Bruise. Before we get into my conversation with Danielle, we will remind you that you can support this show at Patreon, patreon.com/noisemakerjoe for just $2 a month. You get these episodes a little bit earlier than everybody else, and you make me feel nice. You can buy my book. It's called Tired. It's on the Evil website, or I guess you could DM me for a PDF. That'd be fine too. And you can send me a one-time donation over at paypal.me/noisemakerjoe. If giving money isn't your thing, and trust me, I understand, just tell 2 people about the show. And like, comment, subscribe, and otherwise just keep on listening. I appreciate you. Now, without further ado, let's get into my conversation with Danielle. So I read Baby Bruise first, and I was very delighted because, as longtime listeners of the show will know, I love scumbag teenager books. They were made for me. Any kind, it's just so nice for me. It scratches an itch. As I get older, it's cool to watch myself react to them differently. If they're more male-centered stories or female-centered stories, it's fun to watch the initial reactions of my brain and then interrogate that. And also, I just like the aesthetic of teenagers getting drunk at parties and making terrible decisions. And then I went into Female Loneliness Epidemic and realized I have a much more difficult time with scumbag 20-something stories. And I think it's because I'm closer to my 20s. I'm nearing my mid-30s here. But I've noticed that, when I was a teenager and I was just kind of growing out of the self-harm thing, I had a much less compassionate reaction to seeing self-harm in media than I do now, much further away from it. So when I'm in my 40s, it'll be interesting to see what I think about scummy 20-something novels. But while I contend that Female Loneliness Epidemic is a good book, I certainly did not have very much fun with it. At least in terms of how I'm initially reacting to the characters and the decisions they're making. So I want to start out by asking you how you feel about the main characters in Baby Bruise versus Female Loneliness Epidemic. Do you have do you feel more tender or compassionate towards one or the other, or is it about the same?
That is very interesting question. To just unpack that, I feel like that's a common thing where people have less sympathy for 20-somethings, or at least literature about 20-somethings, especially 20-somethings in New York. People hate that shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I would, it's not my fault because I was born on Long Island, so that part is at least not my fault. But, yeah, it's funny because I just wrote a book that's coming out in a few months, and it's sort of like a combination of a 20-something. Half of it is a 20-something and half of it is a teenager. So maybe my empathy toward them is equal, but inhabiting the perspective of a teenager is so much fun. The way I did it with the book that's coming out was a lot different than the way I did it with Baby Bruise. it was a lot more fun. I read Philip Roth's Portnoy's Complaint, and I thought the tone of that, just like how juvenile it is, was so much fun. Um, so yeah, I don't know if I answered your question.
I think you did. I think that's a fair point. I was thinking a lot after Female Loneliness Epidemic about young people in New York. And like, I think you'll find that I tend to be more, I'm a Libra, okay?
Me too.
Yeah! I tend to be like, yeah, it's not my thing, but you know, go off and do your thing. But I was talking to my wife about it, and I was like, man, if I had to be, my 20s were rough. If I had to have also been in New York in my 20s, I would not have made it out. So anyone who's made it to their 30s after being in their 20s in New York, like, you are a stronger soldier than I am. I could not have done it. And you know, like, especially in the art world, I don't hang out with a lot of writers in my real life, aside from like a close core group of friends. But like, yeah, I had a friendship with somebody who was like way more invested in the poetry community, but it was like not poets I knew. And it was like, anytime they would talk about that group of people, it was just like, oh God, like, why are you hanging out with these people? And I understand that if you're, you know, trying to make a career out of being a creative and you're in New York or wherever, big city, that, you know, you kind of have to go to places and be around types of people. And I can't blame that, right? Like, I think what it is for me, again, is like being still pretty close to my 20s and having been something of a scumbag, alcoholic 20-year-old myself, like, and having gotten out and been thoroughly domesticated on the other end of it. There is just kind of like a, come on, get yourself together sort of thing. But like, at the same time, like, those characters are so interesting to think about. I keep thinking about the SoundCloud rapper boyfriend and wondering, like, is he trying specifically to be a SoundCloud rapper, or is he just want to be a musician and that's the like milieu that he's in, so that's the music he's making? And for whatever reason, the distinction for me leads me to have like a different reaction toward him, right? Like, if you just want to be a musician and you're drawn to hip hop and it's 2022 or whatever, like, yeah, that's gonna be kind of the music you're making, unless you're really into like backpack rapping or something. Like, I mean, if you're in New York, you have kind of a wealth of history, but whatever. But if like, you're like trying to become specifically a SoundCloud rapper, that's baffling to me. And again, don't let Midwestern grandpa over here tell you how to live your life, but it's like, why is that? And like, trying to think about why that would be, and like, what is attractive about that to the female protagonist. And the past couple of months, I have also been like particularly interested in like girl blogging on Tumblr. I got at Tumblr because I was sick of social media, and I was just like, I just want like dark academia mood boards and like whimsigoth shit and like home inspo. Like, I want to send pictures to my wife and be like, we need to get art like this in our house. And for whatever reason, the algorithm is like, oh, you know what you'd love teenagers with eating disorders who are obsessed with the movie Black Swan. And my anthropologist brain was like, wait a minute, what is this? And like, I I have no like sort of like big negative feelings about it, but it's fascinating to me, because the girls I hung out with growing up were drawing dragons and watching Naruto and wearing like big baggy clothes. Like the hyper femininity thing was just not something I really had proximity to growing up. And the way that it is spoken of, this like girlhood TM thing, is spoken of as like a universal. And I'm fascinated by that and like trying to understand it and like what does it mean? What does girlhood mean? What does it feel like? And like just before reading Baby Bruise, I watched the movie Crossroads with Britney Spears. Have you seen that? It's
No.
fantastic. It's this wonderful road trip soap opera movie, with Britney Spears and the woman who played Pennsatucky in Orange Is the New Black, and
Oh,
I'm gonna
Natasha, right?
that's a good that's let me look it up real quick. IMDb. Um, Zoe Saldana and Taryn Manning.
Oh, I was wrong.
And that's okay. Dan Aykroyd is the dad of Britney Spears, and he's got this like the whole time it's like he feels like controlling and abusive, but it's also because her mother like abandoned them. Like it's very soap opera, but also at the same time it was produced by MTV. So there's all these fantastic needle drops. And it's like the emotional level the whole time is like high, 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 high. The fun is high, the drama is high, the melodrama is really high. And it kind of primed me for Baby Bruce. Where I was like, all right, I'm kind of going into it with this understanding that like the emotional state of a teenage girl is kind of like always at 10 baseline, and then it just fluctuates between like high and low. And yeah, Baby Bruise was interesting from that perspective. The other way I read it is from this like parents' perspective of like, I'm gonna read it to see where all of these kids who are fucking up, like how are their parents failing them. And it's interesting because there's like not a lot of parents in it, which is how I like my scummy teenager books. Like I kind of like the parents to sort of be like this like ambient pressure pushing them in one way or the other, or just non-existent. But yeah, again, like I was saying before we recorded, I don't know how to turn this into a question. I had a lot of fun reading it, and those were kind of like the ways I was looking at it. Like again, using this as a arrow in my quiver of understanding girlhood, and also like just kind of a new way of seeing for me from this like parental perspective of like how are these kids being failed, and you know, how is the way in which they're being failed sort of informing their actions.
Yeah. I feel like figuring out what the parents are doing is like one of the most difficult parts of it, because like the most fun is just, you know, the character being at some house party. I really only went to like a few house parties as a teenager, and so I think Baby Bruise was my way of going to more. I based those scenes off of like my fragmented memories of being at one where someone was yelling about cops and then we were all running out. But I was like I was not really that bad of a teenager. Like, I was super depressed, but if I tried to drink alcohol, I just thought it tasted disgusting. It wasn't until like 17 that I got really into drinking and was like, let's fucking go.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which was kind of late because it's like that was like my last year of high school. So all of high school, I was just bored as fuck and depressed as fuck on Tumblr. Um, but in regards to the movie thing, I have not seen Crossroads, but Baby Bruise is like directly inspired by a movie called Red Rocket by Sean Baker. Um, he did Honora,
Mm-hmm.
which not my fave. I think it's his worst movie, but I'm glad it got him his flowers.
Mm-hmm.
And Mikey Madison is a goddamn gorgeous, beautiful woman.
Mm-hmm.
Love her. Um, but yeah, Red Rocket, I just watched the movie and I loved it. And I was like, I want to write something inspired by it. And then I did.
Mm-hmm. I was looking through his Wikipedia article, and because I was like, oh, the name's familiar, and then Florida Project and Tangerine, and I realized the
Yeah.
only movie of his I've seen was Starlet. That
Oh, that's a good one.
and
I love that.
I watched it in college, and I thought it was pretty good. Um, and I was kind of wigged out by the idea that he's just like acting out sex things with his wife on set for people, but I don't know. I've watched a lot of Lars von Trier movies, and he's just like getting naked just to like piss
Oh my
people off
God.
to get weird reactions out of them. So like, I don't know. Whatever, man. Do your thing. Whatever it is you're doing, you're in a post Me Too world, and you're still able to make movies. So either these movies are really good, or it's not as creepy as it sounds. So
I feel like there's a difference when Europeans are doing it and when Americans are doing it.
sure.
Like, Europeans are kind of allowed to do the weird, creepy shit.
Mm-hmm.
They're always doing that. But
Mm-hmm.
Americans, it's kind of not cool.
Yeah, we're just so much more repressed, I feel like, you know, like, yeah, I agree. Like Louis C.K. asking people if he can masturbate into a plant feels a lot creepier than like just walking, you know, hanging out with some Italians and then suddenly, oh, Giuseppe is okay. All right, well, the warm sun and the wine. So obviously, you know, with Red Rocket and Baby Bruise and to an extent Female Loneliness Epidemic, the sort of age gap romance comes up a lot too. I'm curious what is compelling about that to you.
Oh my. It sucks putting it into words because it's so cringe, and it's so like cliche, but I don't know, just like the the clashing together of like someone with a lot of experience in life and who misses their younger years with like someone who's young and naive and curious. It's just like with Starlet, there's that, if I'm thinking of the right movie, it's like the unlikely friendship between a young woman and an older woman that happens at like a garage sale or something. Like even just with friendships, I think it's interesting, just intergenerational. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm kind of getting over it. You can only be into that sort of thing for a certain amount of time until it starts to bore you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm 25 now, so
Yeah, it's interesting that you point out like the platonic aspect of it too, because for a long time, particularly when my mental health was really bad, the like grumpy old man makes friends with neighbor kid type movie was like one of my favorite tropes. It was just like old Bill Murray's making friends with somebody's kid, and like they're teaching each other like he's teaching the kid how to like get over whatever fear he has, and the kid is breaking him out of his shell. I feel like that Peter Bachman Man Called Ove movie is like that too. I absolutely love that. I was thinking about it while reading Baby Bruise too, like the sort of like what is it that what is she wanting and what is he wanting. And I kind of like how it turned out that he was just like a serial pedophile. It's not outright said, but like he's like, yeah, dude, I belong here. Like this is not
said. It's not said.
It is not said.
No, we don't know.
We don't know, but that is how I read it, and people are free to read it other ways too. But like he's telling the story about his wife, about like holding her hair back, and how like at first it was kind of cute, and then it was like all the time. And the idea of the type of loneliness that type of man has, who's, you know, middle-aged or approaching middle age, and he's kind of got married based on like vibes, hanging out with a kid who's clearly like hungry for attention. It was like, okay, yeah, I understand that. But also, like it's not so like it's something I understood but didn't have a whole hell of a lot of compassion for, because like, go make friends, homeboy. Like, come on.
Yeah, but men are so bad at making friends.
Yeah, which is weird because it's actually quite easy. Like, I remember seeing a reel that was like, oh, you want to know how to make friends? Go to the same place multiple times, frequently.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And it's like, oh shit, yeah, that's all I need to do. Like,
I've actually made friends at the cafe with these 3 like 60-year-old men who are there every morning at like 11 a.m. doing the crossword together.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Yeah, I like strike this one off your bingo cards, listeners. I've been going to a lot of hardcore shows lately, and it turns out that there's only so many people in town, and the ones who go to hardcore shows go to them a lot, and then it's just like, oh, if you've made eye contact with somebody 2 or 3 separate occasions, just go up and introduce yourself. Hey, I've seen you before. And then if they're weird about it, fucking just crowd kill them later, and like it's fine.
That's also what cigarettes are for.
Also, you know, that's fine too. There's Grand Rapids has way too many straight edge kids for me to want to take that risk.
You like No Dispute?
You know, I was never really into La Dispute, but
that's fucked up.
I know. I had such hang-ups about like emo type music when it was big. This is a whole other thing that like I need to break down those walls, because like. But anyway, one of the members of La Dispute is co-owners of the coffee shop I go to a lot of hardcore shows at. So like, those guys are helping keep the scene alive.
That makes sense.
Which is cool. But yeah, like men are definitely terrible at making friends. One of the things I've noticed too, I've talked to one of my friends about this with her husband too, because her husband doesn't have a lot of male friends, and I don't have a ton of male friends, but I'm working on it. Where like the public perception of men, the social temperature around men is so bad that men don't want to hang out with men. Where it's like, I've been told over and over and over that all these guys are stupid, stinky, smelly rapists. Why do I want to be friends with them? And then I got off the internet. You know, I spend more time off the internet than on the internet, and it's like, yeah, like that's a real issue, like obviously. But like, you're gonna have a hard, like, most of the time you're not gonna run into somebody like that if you're a dude. I feel like if you're a woman, it's probably different because those guys are like constantly on the lookout to find women to be rude to or whatever. But like if you're just a guy, just go to a hardcore show and introduce yourself to somebody and see what happens. And from her perspective, like, it makes sense that somebody who's older, quieter, calmer is like giving you this approval. Like, that totally makes sense. Again, digging through Girl Blogger, Tumblr, like, some of them will just outright say it, like, I need a guy who is this, 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 and this, and I'm only going to find it in somebody who's 40. And, like, yeah, kinda, like...
Well, it's just an aesthetic at this point.
Also, yes. Yeah.
Just Lana Del Rey's impact, but...
She has a stranglehold on Tumblr teens, I'll tell you what.
She has a stranglehold on me. Like, I love her. I don't care.
Yeah, and I talked to Lisa Cantarell really early on. She had the Sylvia Plath, Lana Del Rey inspired anthology on Clash, and like, yeah, like, I get it. I totally get it. And like, I'm trying to think of, like, if I had an equivalent in my teens, if there was some like guy musician or something, and like, maybe not. I don't know. I feel like Slipknot and Marilyn Manson were kind of that for a certain type of teenage boy, where you had that sort of stranglehold. But I also feel like that sort of like obsessiveness over a person is socialized into girls more probably than men. And also, you don't want to, back in the early aughts, you didn't want to be gay by having too many posters of like Danny Filth on your wall or something, right? Like, but I don't know. But yeah, let's consult the notes here. New York art people. I guess we kind of touched on it, because you were talking about how men are bad at making friends. Female loneliness epidemic. Just the title is evocative, right? Of the every 6 months we do a new cycle of hand wringing over the male loneliness epidemic, and nobody can really even necessarily agree on like what men are lonely about, or if they even are lonely, or if they deserve to be or not. Or is it like, are you actually lonely, or do you just want blowjobs on command, or whatever? I've disconnected myself from that part of the internet a lot more. But I remember I used to be very like, I used to have big feelings about it, because it was like, no, I feel lonely. There's an isolating effect of patriarchy that has like happened to me, where like, yes, I have a hard time making friends, and like I kind of feel like there's all these things and whatever. And so I was like, these estimations that whatever the male loneliness epidemic is like describing something that like isn't what I'm feeling, but the term loneliness is so broad or whatever. So anyway, who do you think is lonelier? Is it the boys or is it the girls, and why?
I don't know. I think we're all pretty lonely. I had a boyfriend who told me that he like couldn't talk to his friends about his emotions, because then when they got drunk, they would just like make fun of him for it and like use it against him.
Yeah.
And I was like, And he was like, so basically you're the only person I can talk to about my emotions. And I was like, well, no, you need a therapist and
Yeah.
real friends. But I feel like that gave me some perspective on where men are at. Yeah, I mean, it's hard for men to make friends and it's hard for them to make good friends. But to acknowledge your question, I think that I don't think it's possible for there to be a male loneliness epidemic without there consequentially being a female loneliness epidemic, because men are so lonely, and then because they're lonely, they just start hating women and treating them like shit, and then that makes women lonely. And I wasn't thinking too much into the title. I just thought, like, what if I titled my book Female Loneliness Epidemic? And I was like, fuck yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Then I was just obsessed with how it sounded.
Yeah.
But what was I gonna say? It was really important and genius. I don't remember.
It's all good. I think that's like an important point that you bring up. One of the things I was noticing while reading it and considering the title was like, none of these women are at any point alone.
Okay, that's actually what I was gonna bring up. I noticed some, like, if I like search the title or something, I noticed some people were like, some incels were like, this book is titled Female Loneliness Epidemic, yet there's so many boyfriends in the book. And it's like, you think you can have just because you have a boyfriend, you're not lonely? It's like most of the boyfriends are trash boyfriends. That's the whole point.
Yes. So that was like the nuance I was thinking of, comparing the so-called male loneliness epidemic with the portrayed female loneliness epidemic in the book. Is this like, I feel like for men there is like a physical isolation that is happening, whereas for women, like, it's I feel, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like it's easier to be around people, but like, yeah, there is this lack of connection that is happening. So it's like isolation versus like a lack of fulfillment that is happening, because yes, all the boyfriends are trash, all the jobs suck, most of the friends suck too. You know, again, the idea of going to readings in New York and trying to make friends there feels absolutely miserable, but I'm sure it can be done. So yeah, like, that's kind of what I was picking up on, is like this desire, like the sloppiness of the women in the book feels like a desire to be seen. Like, I will make of myself a spectacle, and then you will have to recognize me, which is kind of like the same idea behind like dudes who shoot up places too, I think. Like, you won't be able to ignore me now, and for whatever reason women in their 20s are just like, I'll just get drunk and make my friends worry about me or whatever.
There's a part in my book that's coming out where she's like 15 and she's like, everyone's gonna regret not noticing how sad I am. I'm gonna do something really bad. I'm not gonna shoot up the school. I'm not gonna hurt anybody, but I'm gonna do something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Don't do it.
And like, I feel like that's, I don't know, I feel like that's pretty natural. Like, just the idea of like feeling invisible. I was wondering today, like, it's difficult for me because I guess I'm technically like on the cusp of millennial and Gen Z, so like a lot of the hashtag only 90s kids understand. Like some of that stuff flies right over my head, which also has to do with my parents only letting me watch PBS until I was however old. But like also a lot of Gen Z culture stuff I only kind of like vaguely get. And I was wondering what you would say to the idea that like Gen Z broadly have a hard time being original as a result of like social media influence. And this isn't a dig, this is like a diagnosis, right? Or a hypothesis.
Yeah, maybe, but I don't know. I feel like people also just have the tendency to like consume art and then immediately compare it to something, which has happened to me so many times where like something, or oh my God, okay, one time this douchebag that I was hooking up with, he accused me of stealing my personality from Daria. And I was like, what is Daria? It was my first time hearing of Daria. So I don't know. Maybe it's hard to be original because like everything has been done already, even if you don't know that.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a podcaster I've listened to for years and years and years, and he's always he would often say something like, "Oh, I have a great idea. I can't wait to see who on the internet has had it already." So that's interesting. That's yeah, I hadn't considered that. Like the image that was in my head while I was thinking of it is, I don't remember. It must have been like a reel. Note how I say reel and not TikTok because I'm ancient. But where it was one of those things where a woman was like, 13-year-olds when I was 13, and it's like the early days of YouTube, and it's like three girls kind of awkwardly shimmying around to Lady Gaga, and it's like 13-year-olds nowadays, and they're very like wearing the right clothes and doing body rolls to whatever popular song, and it's kind of just like presented there. But that was like in my head with that too, because it's like, oh, it's really easy now to kind of like get things about you prescribed, where it's like, if I want to be X type of person, there's a lot of resources for me to figure out how to do exactly that. When I was a kid, it was like, oh, if you want to go goth, you just wear black jeans and black t-shirts, and if you have the money and your parents let you, you go and get the big Hot Topic pants, and there you go. And there was no like list of websites you can go to get goth clothes, and like, here's the ones to stay away from because they're fast fashion and blah, blah, blah. And I kind of felt like, I guess that's not entirely true. Female loneliness epidemic was just kind of like getting me in that mode of trying to sort of more broadly think about like what it is 20 somethings in 2026, like people my sister's age, right? My sister is 26. And trying to think of like what is it that they're up to, and what are, I don't know, like what must that be like. In a recent episode, my guest and I were sort of musing about, in 10 years, we're really interested to see like the Gen Z high school nostalgia movies, to just kind of, to, I don't know, to get it, right? And I guess if you're in it, it might be difficult to, I don't know, elucidate that for us old fogies. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I felt like the book did that. Like, it was a nice introduction to the sort of malaise that is out there. The New Yorkiness bit, like, I really feel like I'm kind of playing it up. Like I was very much interested in like the interpersonal sort of thing. The fact that it took me several pieces in to be like, oh wait, this is different women, was interesting to me. I was like, oh no, this is like a collection of flash fiction presented as a novel. Because I don't know, she was like talking about her job or her college or something in one of the stories, and I was like, well, that's different than 2 chapters earlier. Oh, it's different women.
Oh God.
And like, again, this is coming off of Baby Bruise, and like, okay, like, my bad for kind of making assumptions that like, okay, this is how she's going to structure her novels moving forward.
I probably should have put short stories on the front, on the cover.
You know, I liked that I had that realization because it is like another layer of thinking about it for me, right? Like interrogating myself, why is it that I would think that?
And did you notice that towards the end there's one story from about a guy?
I did. And I was like, oh, this is a standout. Like at that point I had I had realized that would have, if it had taken me that long to understand that it was a short story collection, that would have been embarrassing. And I mean, I'm embarrassed anyway, but like, I don't know. I was raised Catholic, so I'm always embarrassed. I'm always ashamed. That's just, you know, I was born and it was a sin and whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I like, the last thing I wrote in my notes was people constantly grasping, but at what? And I think that kind of sums up a lot of like the tension I was feeling while reading the book. And I said it earlier with like the SoundCloud rapper boyfriend. It was like, why is it that you're doing what you're doing? And the same thing, all these women, it's like, I can tell that you want something and you're clearly not wanting what it is you're going after. And, you know, your 20s are for, with scare quotes, like figuring a lot of that stuff out. Figuring out who you are and what you want. And, you know, I guess there's a debate to be had about whether or not the characters are like having enough self-reflection to make progress on that quest. But also like you can wrap a lot of that up in like 28, 29. You can kind of go from 20 to 26, 27, kind of coasting on
not in my experience.
Well, say more about that. I'm interested to hear.
Well, I'm 25 now, and I have finally stopped drinking, so that's nice. I'm at like 6 months now,
Nice.
and I've been taking really long walks in the morning. My record is 8 miles right now, but I'm very wary of becoming like a sober grifter. Like, I just hate people who are obsessed with being sober and preach it. Like, spiritually, I still love White Claws and being messy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people who are obsessed with, like, I guess you would call it like the clean girl aesthetic. It's just like, oh my God, like, shut up. You are so boring.
Yeah.
And all of the art that I love is still about the same stuff. And I'm still writing about grasping for something that I don't know what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I dig it. I like that. I I think it is important to like not want to be too sober griftery. Like I really hate calling myself an alcoholic, because like I had never lost a job or got divorced or anything. It was just like, oh, this is bad and it will continue to get worse. I had better stop. And it wasn't the first time I had tried to stop when I finally did. And like when I did decide to stop, which was probably about 26, it's probably about 7-8 years ago. It might have been around 25. It's hard to tell. That my mid-20s are a bit of a blur. It was like right around the time I started the podcast. I think like maybe around episode 2 or 3 was when I had finally stopped drinking. I was just like, oh, I can't do this anymore. And then I stopped, and that was it. And again, it helped that I have like a wife in the house, and I was like, well, I'm not about to buy alcohol and hide it. I'm not going to do that. Because I wasn't like hiding my alcohol usage prior, right? I'll just put that anywhere. I had shortly after I quit drinking, got a job, and mentioned to my, I don't know, boss, coworker. It was at a radio station, and he was the host of the morning show I was producing. I mentioned to him that I was like 5 or 6 weeks sober, and he later told me, he was like, dude, I was an alcoholic for like a long time, and we would swap stories, and his stories were like so much worse, right? Where it'd be like 3 o'clock in the morning and he's taking giant swigs from a huge bottle of vodka, and then he'd stop to take a breath and his 4-year-old was standing there watching him.
Oh God.
Or like his golf bag just full of bottles of vodka. And like, so like, for one, like I was never there. It was I'd get home from work, I would get drunk, I'd black out, and my wife would wake me up when she got home from work. And like after doing that a couple of times, watching my friendships disappear, it was like, oh, I must stop. I just can't do it anymore. So there's like no like romantic anything to it. It was just like, oh, I can't do this. It's very much like, I don't know, if I had determined that I was gluten free and I was like, oh, I just must stop eating bread now, and then did, right? So like I totally understand the like desire to not be the clean girl sort of thing, because similarly, like, yeah, I love getting messy. But you said about Baby Bruise, like part of writing that was to go to more house parties. That's why I read those books too, because I was not even getting invited to house parties when I was 16. Dog, I had 3 friends when I was 16, and we went to each other's houses and we played Super Smash Brothers in the basement and drank Coca-Cola straight from the 2-liter. Like, that was it. Like, I'm not, like, there's really nothing romanticizable about like that part of my life, aside from just like remembering what it felt like to feel so deeply about things that mattered kind of so little. Like the like specific particular like butterflies in the gut feeling of being 15 is just like fun to revisit. But yeah, like you don't have to, that's what art's for. You can go to those places, right? Like I will never go to war, but I love a World War II novel, like keep me away from that, but also give me the book. It was funny. And go ahead.
With Female Loneliness Epidemic, I feel like that was just me just being the worst versions of myself for fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It was funny. Speaking of World War II novels, I'd recently just finished reading Kaput by Carrizo Malaparte, who was a World War II like war correspondent for the Italians. And Kaput is this like autofiction-y dispatch from 1942, like Poland and Helsinki and Romania. And he's doing like all of these dinners with Nazis, like Nazi officers, and like the Nazi like governor of Warsaw and German occupied Poland. And I was comparing the feeling of reading that to the feeling of reading Female Loneliness Epidemic, because I was like, oh, this is kind of the same thing, where I'm like in these rooms with these people that I would never want to be in the room with in real life, but I love being here now in this safe distance. And now that I'm talking to you, I'm very much lightening up. A thing about me is that if I have big feelings about a book, I tend to like spiral down about it, and then when I talk about it, especially to the author, like I lighten up about it. This happens with Charlene Elsby books all the time. Like her books have such a darkness to them that as I'm reading them, I get the further into the book I get, the more afraid I get of doing the interview with her, because I'm like, oh my god, this woman is gonna tear me apart. And then she's like, oh, hi. That's my terrible Canadian accent. And it's like, oh, that's right, this is my friend who likes me. And kind of similarly, reading these books, I was like, oh my god, this woman is gonna kill me. And it's like, no, you're just a human person who knows how to write well. And like I feel like that's a really good strength to be able to, like, you know, evoke emotion in the reader. And again, Mr. Social Anxiety over here. One of the things I saw when I was digging through your website was I reread your interview with Thomas More about one of his books. And I remember reading that like when it came out on the Dennis Cooper blog. And you were talking about people wanting to dig into books like yours and his and try to parse what parts are real and what parts are not. And you remarked on how you were glad that he's, I think you said, not as bitter about it as you.
Yeah. I was like, damn, I'm the bitter one. Why did I bring this up? But yeah, I mean, I can't even say that because then I catch myself doing the same thing all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So...
I have to force myself not to. Where it's like, no, it was marketed as fiction. It's a fiction book. Like, yeah, there's real stuff in it because that's how artists create, is through experience. But like, no, I'm not going to interrogate you and be like, okay, so like, tell me about your experience with Charlie. Like, no, dude, fucking no. But at the same time, you've mentioned in multiple places that you're a huge fan of Chris Kraus. Who is kind of like, I don't know, famously more auto than fiction. It seems from where I'm standing. I will say, and maybe you have something interesting to say about this, is I had heard about her work and I Love Dick specifically, there we are, from somebody, and then like a week, like positively, like, oh, this book is great, she's awesome, and then like a week later that same person was like, oh my god, Blake Butler's such a piece of shit for writing Molly. And so since then, and a lot of other people on Twitter were having very big feelings about Molly, and I get it. Like, people, I think the difference is that nobody knew the eponymous Dick and lots of people knew the eponymous Molly. But too many people were having too many big feelings about it. I've been very public that like I really enjoy his fiction. And I was just like, a thing about like Twitter writer drama is that it like consumes my soul I've gotten much better at being like, I don't know personally these two people who I'm supposed to either be mad at or support, so I'm gonna step away. But at the time, it was a lot. It was very like stressful to read and try to dig into and whatever. And so I have read neither Molly nor I Love Dick. But like, I'm very curious, like, what is it about Chris Kraus, you know, for you that is so compelling?
That was not what I thought the question was going to be.
Oh, I'm not here. I'm not here to relitigate or dredge up drama or anything. I was explaining why I have refused to read her up until this point is because like
well, you should read both I Love Dick and Molly. Both great books for very different reasons. It feels weird to mention them in the same breath, but. I mean, I read Chris Kraus for the first time when I was like 20 or 21 and was super emotional and like first getting into alt-lit.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's so weird the stuff that we talk about as autofiction, and like really anything can be considered autofiction, but I Love Dick just really uses it in a specific way of like she really makes herself a character and then plays around with the narration of just like, you know, making fun of herself. Just like she has that perspective of being outside of herself and presenting herself in these weird ways. Also, fun fact, people actually do know who Dick is.
Yeah, I saw that on Wikipedia. That was one of the things that was making me feel feelings, is because he has like famously stated that he felt that book was an invasion of his privacy.
Yeah, but when you read that from a remove, it just makes the book sound even cooler. I don't know. It's tricky. I mean, I wouldn't want to make someone feel that way. It would feel very complicated, but when you're removed from the situation, it's a lot easier to think a certain way about it.
Yeah. I guess that's what I was getting at. It's like people who were mad about Molly personally, or at least internetally, knew Molly. Whereas
internetally.
They don't. That's a neologism for you. Did not know Dick that way, and would maybe have felt more negatively about I Love Dick if they had felt they were friends with him. Who's to say? I don't know. There's that tweet. The whole thing smacks of gender, I say, tipping over the grill at the 4th of July barbecue. But yeah, okay. Like, that's interesting. Like, I've read Hello World from Anna Paletti that was published on or through Semiotext.
Oh, I think I have that, but I haven't read it.
It's fantastic. That was another book where reading it, like in preparation for having her on the podcast, I was like terrified. I was like, again, this woman's going to tear me apart. And she was delightful. She was absolutely delightful. It seems she was recommended by Shane as well. And it seems like, oh, he just knows good people, which is nice. Which is also why I do the show the way I do the show. I like the vetting. If delightful person A recommends person B is going to be at least half as delightful. And that has really never yet failed. To the... I really wanted to mention, as we're kind of wrapping up here, there was a bit in Female Loneliness Epidemic that like really, really touched me. Where she's talking about how until she was 11, she'd never took a shower by herself and would like force her mother to stand there and like scrub her hair around the curtain. And for whatever reason, it's like getting me in the tear ducts. There's like, that was such a fascinating, tender little like tidbit of history that feels so true, coming from like a former very sensitive little kid. Like that feels completely like, she doesn't necessarily say like, oh, it's because I was scared of something or whatever. She just kind of states the fact that that was a thing that she made happen. And I guess if I like went back and reread the story and kind of like close read and tried to psychoanalyze, I could figure out why, but that's really
maybe not.
Maybe not. That's also not how I read. But yeah, I loved so much that little tidbit.
Yeah, I think it's powerful to just state something weird and specific, especially from childhood, and just like leave it there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You deal with flashback a little bit. And I really like it when you use it. I'm curious, the book you have coming out, it's the same character aging through teenage into 20s?
Yes.
Okay. Is it told linearly or is it back and forth like that?
I'll just leak the plot, because why not?
Yeah.
It's autofiction, and it's very blatantly auto. So she's 25, but she takes a hit of weed and is transported back to being 15. And there's a lot of Tumblr too, since we were talking about Tumblr, like straight up, like I'm quoting Marina and the Diamonds, like we are there.